Alright, so today we're going to be finding the value of x using a quadratic equation. If you don't remember, the quadratic equation is written right here. There's one thing we need to understand about the quadratic equation, and this form is really written for the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And more specifically, this equation, the quadratic equation, is going to figure out where this parabola crosses my x-axis. And if you know anything about graphs, these 2 points have one thing in common, and it's that they both have y equals 0 as a part of these coordinates. Right? The x-axis is whenever y is equal to 0, so wherever these are crossing, y is equal to 0, which means if y is equal to 0, then I need to write this as 0 equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And then we can solve using the quadratic equation. So right away, I recognize this is not in that form. So off to the side over here, I'm going to solve for it. If I subtract 6y from both sides, I get negative 3y squared minus 6y equals negative 10. And then if I add 10 to both sides, I'm going to get negative 3y squared minus 6y plus 10 equals 0. So this is great because now I can use my quadratic equation. It's all equal to 0. So a couple things I recognize, that my a term is equal to negative 3. My b term is equal to negative 6. And my c term is equal to positive 10. So now we can plug these in. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to separate my work here a little bit. It's going to be where I solve for my x's. So negative b, which the opposite of negative 6 is just positive 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 6 squared, minus 4 times a, which is negative 3, times c, which is 10. And that's all over 2 times a, which is 2 times negative 3. So this is equal to 6 plus or minus square root. And if you do all of this, math, you're going to get the square root of 156 over 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6. So if you figure out that the square root of 156 is really just the square root of 4 times the square root of 39, which is actually just 2 times the square root of 39, then we can rewrite this as 6 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 39 over negative 6. Well, right away, I recognize that I have a negative in the denominator here. I can just rewrite this as negative 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 39 over 6. And so now I need to use a little bit of complicated simplifying here. I notice that the GCF between my 2 and 6 is going to be 2. The greatest common factor between those is going to be 2. So I can factor a 2 out from all three of these terms here. So I'm going to do that. This 6 is going to allow me to do that. So this is going to be 3 plus or minus 1 square root of 39 over 3. So my answer is negative 3 plus or minus the square root 39 over 3. And this is my final answer.